I speak to a lot of startups, they either start with a belief or a problem. I think in Kanya's case, it's a bit of a both.
Nothing existed before we sort of came in, right? So I think the whole market was sort of the gap.
I'm everything left brain, she's everything right brain.
I think it takes some time to find a balance. Once the balance is found, it's so beautiful to be on this journey with your partner.
A very warm welcome to the Leaders of Tomorrow Vodcast, your go-to series for unfiltered conversations with entrepreneurs shaping the future of business. I'm Ritwika Gupta, and today we are diving into the business of medical apparel. Yes, this is a very niche space and one that's way more interesting than it sounds. Joining me today are Vanshika and Abhijeet Kaji, co-founders of Kanya. We'll be talking about what Kanya really stands for, what they are building, where they are headed, and much more. Vanshika, Abhijeet, welcome to the Leaders of Tomorrow Vodcast. Pleasure to be having a conversation with the both of you finally. I'm so glad that you could make time for this.
Thank you so much. An absolute pleasure to be here, and we're excited to catch up with you and share more about Kanya.
Absolutely. Vanshika, I want to start with you, for all the viewers of our show today, the ones, who are watching this episode. If they haven't heard about you or Kanya, how would you very simply describe to them what you're building?
We're building Nike for medical professionals. So just what Nike did back in the years, which is build a brand which focuses on athletes. They were the first to do it, to really understand them, to give to their needs. We're basically trying to do that but for medical professionals.
Nice. I love the name Kanya. So Abhijeet, I want to come to you with this question. What does the name signify? Does it have a greater significance beyond just branding? What does it mean to you and the business overall?
So, Kanya comes actually coined by Vanshika, credit to her. So it comes from the word Panchakanya, which is the Sanskrit goddess of courage. And what better profession to talk about courage than medical professionals, right? And interestingly, Nike, which is a brand we are very inspired by, comes from the Greek goddess of victory, right? So we're very inspired by courage per se for medical professionals, right? And why courage, right? I think today's day and age, I think we've all forgotten the hard work, the long years, the hardships that medical professionals face on a daily basis to cure patients, to show up every day, spend 18, 20 hours a day, sometimes even get physically attacked. Right, but they show up and they're there courageously, and so like as Kanya, if we can stand with them, support them throughout their journey, why not, right? And make them perform just a little bit better through the apparel they wear.
Right, Vanshika, I want to add to that. Since you coined the name Kanya.
No, so Kanya I think just has a very strong meaning for us, and as Abhijeet said, that no better people than medical professionals to really signify the meaning of that word and to really hold it true. We also love that it's, so literally it transforms or it translates into a woman, which is what's spelled Kanya, but to make it more modern, we spell it KNYA because we stand for the modern medical professionals, where we've realized that even in a non-sexy category like uniforms, self-individuality plays a very big role. So yeah.
So I understand Kanya was set up in 2021, right in the thick of the pandemic. If you look back, would you say that the business has been formed because of the pandemic, or do you think Kanya would have still found its own path anyway?
I think, before I answer that, I think it's important to understand, right, that there are two pieces of statistics that really made us start this company, right? One is that 75% of doctors get attacked at least once in their professional life. Let that sink in, right? In this office, imagine if 75% of the people get physically attacked at least once, right? I mean, how dark and kind of, poor is that situation, right? And second is the life expectancy of doctors in India is 59 versus non-doctors, which is people like you and me, is 71. And why does that happen, right? Mental stress, great amount of ordeal, takes 14 to 15 years to really earn a decent salary to live in an urban area, right? Engineers, nothing against engineers, earn that maybe a year or two after undergraduate education, right? And I feel after all of this, I feel like doctors and nurses do not get their due, right? And for me, due is respect, celebration, right? I don't remember the last TV show or movie made to celebrate medical professionals, right? And I have a fundamental issue with that. And that is why Vanshika and I started Kanya. Yes, we are absolutely a medical lifestyle brand. We want them to feel comfortable at work. We want them to perform better at work. But to perform better at work, you first need to feel good about yourself. Right? And I think that's where Kanya comes in. Right? We early on spoke about Nike. Right? Why Nike? Nike celebrates the 3 a.m., 4 a.m. athlete that's starting to run in the dark. Right? If there's a brand, there are like 25 athleisure brands in India today that have started.
Yeah.
But where are the brands for medical professionals to make them feel better? Right? So COVID just, I think, double-clicked on the issue for us. Right? It kind of double-clicked on the issue for the entire nation, which, by the way, I think we've forgotten again. Right? So I think the business would have started either way. We would have built this brand anyways. We come from like a broader family of doctors. We are not doctors, we are not nurses, but we've kind of understood the pain through the journey. And now, having served lakhs of medical professionals who've slid into our DMs very often telling us about their pains, about them wearing Kanya, wearing their 100th surgery and first surgery, we understand this and we are walking the path with them.
Fantastic. When we look at the medical industry, the healthcare ecosystem, I think it is very much trust-led, right? So for an emerging young brand like yours, how did you earn trust, especially not just of the consumers, of the doctors and nurses, but even the people you're pitching to, like maybe the hospitals, the institutions, schools, how did you make your space? How did you earn that and convince them that this is something they need to look at more seriously?
I'll start and then Vanshika, in case you want to add. I think it's such a good question, right? Because it's something we thought of very clearly and very honestly, being like, we're not doctors, we're not nurses. Why should medical professionals trust scrubs, lifestyle items worn by doctors and nurses every day by non-doctors? Yes, Vanshika is a fourth generation in textiles, so she really understands fabric technology, she understands the product really well, she understands every nick and corner of the product, right? All the way from small loops to pocket sizing, all types of products. We recently launched a stethoscope as well. I think we've gone, new product development is centered at what we do, right? But to answer this question of distrust, we were very clear that, from day one, we are in 2021, today we're in 2026 now, right? Content is a very, very powerful medium to bridge with every individual, right? So yes, are we a brand, a medical lifestyle brand? Yes, we are. But I think we are as much a content organization, right? We generate a crazy amount of content. We've launched our own TV show on doctors, right? We have more than 6 lakh subscribers just on YouTube, right? So yes, although we are a brand that sells medical apparel, but we create so much content that helps us kind of bridge the gap with these individuals. And this content is written not by people like you and me. It's written by doctors and nurses. So we have doctors and nurses working for Kanya and with Kanya as well, who are writing fun content for these individuals, emotional content, fun content. I worked in New York for a couple of years, right, in finance, right? And one thing I remember from my time in New York was finance bros just absolutely love acronyms. And they love acronyms that other people do not understand. Right. They love using the word FCF, LBO, when you can easily just say cash flow, you don't have to say free cash flow, right? I think medical professionals are no different. They love their inside jokes. They love and their own kind of, talk in their own community. Like we all do. We all enjoy that. So, but Kanya has become that insider in that table, in that conversation, where part of their pop culture references, kind of understanding their medical jokes better than maybe even other doctors do. Maybe we start the joke, right? And I think that's been a fun journey the last 4 years.
Nice. Vanshika?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think relatability in general plays a very big role in what we do. So through our social channels, we try to put up content where a medical professional looking at it will be like, yeah, that was me yesterday. Or they really get me. And I think that's where slowly trust starts getting built.
So if someone were to say, approach you, what are the kind of offerings that you have? I'm not in the medical field, but, I just want to surf your website. What are the things, will be available to me?
Our main offering is our scrubs. There's a lot of work which has gone into sort of designing the scrubs. The usual norm before we came in was going to a local tailor. Now the problem with that is the fabrics are inconsistent, the design is not functional, takes a lot more time for the medical professional to go physically, get it done and then come back home. There was no personalization involved in terms of the logo they can have on their scrubs, their name, etc. So we have completely digitalized this. We work a lot on product development. So scrubs is of course our main offering. We have lab coat aprons. We also have under scrubs, which is something you wear under your scrubs when you go to work. That also was, I think, somebody had recommended it, saying that usually hospitals are very cold inside, especially in the OTs. So to have something to layer it is very effective in those kind of situations. So that's when we launch under scrubs. We've also recently just launched a jacket, which I think Abhijeet is wearing. It's called the Drift Jacket. Again, it's really a lot of efforts gone in sort of understanding what our consumers want and then designing a product accordingly. So if you look at the insides of it, there's an icon which has a stethoscope made on it, which is a pocket dedicated to only put your stethoscope in it. There's an icon which has your keys, notebook and a pen made on it, because we know that these are the key items that a medical professional will be carrying with them at the hospital. So a lot of thought in terms of just what do they carry on them, where should the pockets be placed, how deep should the pockets be, how many times are they going to wash a particular garment. So all of those things. And we've also actually a couple of months back launched a medical hijab. We were the first in India to sort of launch a medical hijab, which was again, after talking to a lot of hijab wearing women, came from an insight that the usual is you tie a scarf around and then you pin it up with safety pins and bob pins. And again, it's not functional, it's not something they can remove and put on very easily. So again, to sort of give that convenience and that functionality to the medical gear, we launched that.
Fantastic. Vanshika, you come from a strong fashion background, right? And Abhijeet, you come from a very quantitative background. How did you find your rhythm as co-founders? I mean, it was probably pretty much early on decided that...
It really took some time.
It was pretty much like decided you're going to take care of the look and feel and you're going to be like looking at the growth and operations. Is that what it is, or? That's
exactly what it is. I think the way we define it is I'm everything left brain, she's everything right brain. Right, so anything to do with the brand communication, anything to do with the physical product, anything to UI UX of the website, the product functionalities is Vanshika. Right, anything to do with numbers, anything to do with numbers is basically me. Right, so the finance, the operations, the accounting, the compliance, I think the investor relations, I think that's what comes down to me. And it's quite natural. I'll tell you, it's quite natural. Like I think there are obviously areas that have overlap, but we quickly pretty understand that, she'll understand this more, she'll enjoy this more, or I'll understand this more, I'll enjoy this more, and that's how we divided. And that's how the teams are divided as well. And honestly, it's been a fun journey.
Right. I also want to talk about some of the maybe, the surprising bottlenecks perhaps, that you faced along the way, because this is a very niche segment and something where, there are not too many players either. So maybe Abhijeet, we can start with you. What were some of the challenges that, perhaps, you did not expect these? Yeah. Sometimes we go in thinking that, okay, this is something we expect, but what was that for you?
So I'll say one thing, right? I think doing business in India is not for the faint-hearted, right? I think it requires a crazy amount of resilience, right? But if you're able to build that, this is the place, right? This is the golden era. I've spent 10 years in the US, and a day doesn't go by where I do not get a call from my business school classmates from Stanford who are hedge fund managers being like, what's happening in India, right? And like, we're interested, we're excited. Right, and I feel that it's palpable here. The premiumization, the consumerism that's happening here, the consumer class is just burgeoning, right? So I have the front row seat in building in India in a very important category, which is healthcare, right? So I'm very excited, if you can't tell already.
Right, yes.
But that being said, it's difficult, right? Building a business is difficult wherever you do it, right? And I think a couple of the difficulties that we face is we are in category creation phase, where we are building a category which did not exist, right? Today, as Vanshika rightly said, is that today's scrubs are being bought from the local tailor. Today, if you have a local tailor sitting outside, JJ Hospital, would go and buy fabric from Mangal Das Market, buy the fabric, stitch it up, and give it to the medical professional. Inconsistent fabric, no fabric technology, nothing like performance fabrics here, and we are kind of branding a space that gives its due respect, right? We have physical stores. We have 15 physical stores in the country now. We're now primarily an online brand. We've launched in UAE as well as we speak, and we're going to launch in other countries as well, right? But what have the challenges been? 6 months back, one of our mother warehouses burned down, right, in Bhiwandi, right? That's not easy. That's pretty tough. On a Nurses Day campaign, thankfully nobody got hurt, right? But to lose crores worth of inventory overnight and have the systems enough to yet be live on our website and our stores to continue serving medical professionals who need these apparel to perform life and death surgeries, right? We had a store in Pimpri Chinchwad. There was a local conflict with a local government official, and we were collateral damage. our store was broken down. No fault of ours, we were 100% compliant, right? So I think issues like this keep coming up, right? And I think they're part and parcel of building up in India. And I think we've been able to build resilience. We've been able to build a solid team that can kind of build up systems and yet manage. And I think technology has been at the center of it. If we did not have technology, we don't have the right softwares in place, we wouldn't know how to deal with this, right? So I think along with the category creation play, I think team is the final challenge, right? I think if we ever want to reach anywhere in India, right, or any business, I think it's about having a robust team that can build with you, who understand the problems as much as you, and as much in the kind of ownership phase as the founders. And we've been lucky to have that at Kanya. We are more than 160, 170 people now and growing. And it's been a pretty fun journey. It's been long nights, very long nights, but a fulfilling one.
I'm sure. Vanshika, similar question to you, but from the lens of, when I speak to a lot of startups, they either start with a belief or a problem. I think in Kanya's case, it's a bit of a both, right? Like there is a strong belief, but of course you're trying to solve a gap. What are the gaps that you are seeing currently in the industry?
Honestly, nothing existed before we sort of came in, right? So I think the whole market was sort of the gap. When I talk about just product was a gap. When I talk about community was the gap. When I talk about just a brand that stands for medical professionals, like when you and I go to work or when we go to the gym, we have like brands that specialize in it, be it workwear, be it, functional wear gym. But when it comes to medical professionals, it just didn't exist. Like, have you ever thought of it? Like, where are they buying their scrubs from? Like, most people, when I say the word scrubs, don't even realize what I'm talking about.
Just, picking up from what you're saying, who do you then see as competition today?
I think that the local tailor is the competition, right? And I think this is a constant feedback we get from our stores as well, is that today you yet have some medical professionals who are comfortable buying from tailors because they've always been buying from tailors. It's been a legacy relationship, right? And whereas we are coming in and we are like, we are standardizing it for you, we're giving you good service, it's a good fabric technology, the product is solid, right? And we stand for something. Right. We stand for either customer experience, for product delivery, for celebrating the medical professionals, sustainability, right? And with that, we give you a promise, right? I think that's what we are trying to do. And I see so many young brands come up who are not young anymore, who are doing like hundreds of crores of revenue, who are having such a strong impact, on the Indian consumer class. And I think the consumers are absolutely benefiting from this, right? As a consumer, I know I benefit from so many amazing products that have come up.
To be very honest, when I was like researching for this interview as well, I couldn't really find anybody who are in the exact same space as you. But what about globally? Is there someone similar, doing something similar, like what you're doing? Do you follow what's happening in the global medical space?
So I think in the West, it is quite organized, right? In the US, it is quite organized, and we see some big players out there, right? Some in the public market, some who are in late stage, private stage as well, and I think we're very inspired by what happens across the globe, but I think this is an India problem, right? Sourcing is India, right? American companies do not source from America; they source from either India, China, or Vietnam, right? Or maybe Bangladesh in some cases, right? But we manufacture in Bhiwandi, which is an hour and a half from where we are sitting today, and that's the benefit of being an Indian company, right? I think we are a textile haven, right? Our fabric sourcing happens everything on the western side. Vanshika does either Surat or Bhilwara, some stuff from maybe Ludhiana and Tirupur as well. Right, I think so. We are kind of building an India solution, right? An India product, India solution, India pricing, right? We should keep being inspired by what happens globally. But my only kind of advice to the team and Vanshika and me would be is that we're building for India. Let's look around. Let's kind of observe everything. But let's find what works for us and what works for Kanya.
And I understand you have also introduced eco-friendly products. If you would like to talk about that.
Absolutely. But just to add to that, I think also India acts very differently to price as well, right? So I can't just come in being like, this is the best product out there, but it's $100 scrub. It's not going to sell. So I think it's designing for the Indian medical professional, but also keeping their pocket depths in mind, or how much they're willing to pay for a particular quality. And that's, I think, been a very big challenge for us from the beginning.
Right. I want to talk about your eco-friendly products. So what was the thought behind it?
So we have a product called EcoFlex, which is made from 100% recycled PET bottles found in the ocean waste. It's 100% certified. It's a top performing fabric. I'm actually the biggest. I'm most proud of particularly this fabric and this product that we have.
I really want to understand, is sustainability scalable for a startup? Because as much as, it is a great idea, but is it really translating into people buying it, especially for a market like India when, you need to make your products affordable? So what is your strategy going forward, when it comes to eco-friendly products and really driving this sustainability momentum?
I think it's going to be a slow transition, but I feel like every brand has to start playing their part.
Sure.
And then eventually we'll maybe, be at a place where it really does matter and people are willing to pay for it. But I think not just in terms of the materials, in terms of the fabrics, but I think in terms of our packaging, like e-commerce packaging, I think if we all opt for sustainable measures, we can all make such a big difference. So sustainability is really as a whole, and I think all brands should in some way play their part, because only then will we see a greater change.
Absolutely. Now, Vanshika, at the start of the interview, you mentioned that you want to become the Nike of medical apparel here in India, right? And that's something which I think I also read your interview where you said that it's been 4 years, since you started Kanya, and has that vision changed, or has that goalpost moved, or is it what it is still now?
I think it's only become stronger. Yeah. I think it's only become stronger in terms of product, in terms of quality. In fact, today only in our production meeting with all our QCs, I said that we need to decrease the level of AQL that we follow.
Sure.
For a general dispatch of our goods, because that's not going to cut it anymore. Because when you are going to a Nike shop, you know what to expect. You're not buying a product which by any chance will be subpar. You know what you're expecting, what you're paying for. And I think at Kanya, that's what we're aspiring to do as well. Like, Kanya comes with a certain quality, and nothing less than that is acceptable to the brand or to the customers. So I think it's only become stronger in terms of our product, in terms of our quality, but also in terms of our content. Last year itself, we launched 2 brand films, which were very close to our heart, touches a deep emotion of a young girl who's aspiring to become a doctor because her mother's a doctor, and how one day she, finally wears Kanya scrubs and feels like one. So I think in terms of the content, we're really aspiring, we're again taking inspiration from Nike and really putting out great quality, impactful, emotional content which really connects to the consumers.
Right.
To add to just to add to that, we launched a very interesting report actually a few months back called Vitals 2025. It was a culmination of 10,000 conversations with medical professionals, and it was a report kind of authored by us on the state of mental health in medical professionals. Right? And it was fascinating, the results. Right? And we published it on our website across the board, free to read for everybody, just as a service to the community to know where we are at. Right? And some of the learnings were baffling, right? Some of the learnings was that people actually sometimes are doubting their medical ethics before making a decision, because that's how frustrated they are. That's how kind of flustered they are with the situation, right? We spoke about sexual assault for women, medical professionals, right? How safe do they feel in the workplace? And these are hard-hitting questions, right? And based on that report, next week, so I don't know if this episode will be live by then, but we're launching Breakpoint.
Okay.
Right? Breakpoint is a mental health hotline, which is going to be available to all medical professionals for free 24/7, 7 days a week, right? And they can call at their will and talk to somebody who could potentially help them if they are in the position of need.
Talk to a trained professional.
Trained professional, 100% confidential, right? And no questions asked, 100% only between the professional and the person calling.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's very impressive what you're doing. And I'm going to talk a lot more about that, in the later part of the conversation. But right now I want to talk a little bit about money. Funding is such a critical chapter for every entrepreneur out there, and the ones who are watching as well, for future entrepreneurs who are watching the show. Walk us through your funding journey, from idea to execution. What do you think worked? What made your pitch perhaps stand out, and definitely talk to us about some of the challenges also you might have faced.
So we have raised 2 rounds of institutional capital. Our lead investors, DSG Consumer Partners, Singapore-based investor that's invested in some very large and successful consumer brands. We also have Samina Hamid, who's from the promoter family of Cipla, who's on our cap table. We also have Dr. Devi Shetty and Viren Shetty from the Narayana Health Group, right, who are on our cap table as well. So very lucky to have a phenomenal group of investors who are there to support us and guide us through this journey. Fortunately for us, we've been profitable from day one in every month, right? Every month has been profitable. So we were never really looking to raise outside capital. But actually the DSG folks have reached out to us, and I got in touch with Viren and Dr. Devi Shetty as well, and they showed a keen amount of interest because they all are just found the topic so close to their heart, right? And we're like, it'd be good to kind of get on some smart people on our cap table who can ride the journey with us, who can guide us from their experience as well. Today as well, we are kind of not looking to fundraise again in any near future because I think we're well capitalized. We're profitable, we're growing, we're generating cash as well. And I think there's no other way I know how to run a business but to be profitable, right? And my mantra has always been the same, that the consumer should fund your growth, not outside investors, right? So I think that's how we've been building the business. And I think this business has its, working capital is an important lens. But I think that's one thing we've been very, very strict about. And that's why we've been very focused, right? We have a strong Pareto rule as well. Large percentage of our sales come from our top SKUs as well, right? And I think I have a laser eye on kind of how we're looking to build this going forward, at least till now. And inspired by some, successful lifestyle businesses that have been built in the space in India and globally. And I think we're lucky to have that network to guide us to my alma mater at Stanford and at Penn as well, who have built strong businesses, investors and brands, right? So we keep leveraging our broader network as well to build this business.
Right. Vanshika, would like to add to that, your funding journey?
I think one thing we've just in general believed in, or a thumb rule that we followed, is build slow but build sustainably. And always solve for you sleeping well at night. So, you don't want to race too much and be on a treadmill, not get sleep at night and just, race towards just revenue. I think it's very important to build a sustainable organization, because even now we see, right, that every six months as you grow, things break. So it's very important to fix it stage by stage before just like running everywhere.
Right. Now, I understand this is a B2B plus a B2C model, like both online, offline, and also you're catering to consumers and businesses, right? Just, help us understand, what was the thought process behind it? Was it to just grab as much of the market as possible? Was that the intention?
So actually, we have been actually focused primarily on the direct-to-consumer channel, which is the B2C channel. We've been very clear we want to build a brand first. We want to build a brand with the individual that's wearing it, whether it's the doctor, it's the nurse, it's the technician, right? And we've layered B2B institutional purchases on top of that. So today, our main channels are our website and our app, right, which we've been able to successfully double every 7 to 8 months in the last 4 years. We're also available on other online marketplaces, but another very burgeoning channel for us is our stores. We have 15 stores across cities, right, all the way from Shambhaji Nagar to Nagpur to Vellore to Manipal, Bombay, Ahmedabad, Vadodara, and in the works, right? And it's been a very profitable and a very successful channel for us. So strong product channel fit there, and we're looking to double down on that channel as well. We also have institutional purchase, right? So today you have large medical institutions, clinics that kind of buy from us, and I think we are very, very lucky to see that. It makes us feel good. But I think the important thing was for us to first build the brand, to see the value proposition, right? And why does it make sense to go to Kanya versus a local tailor? Right? And I think that's what we've been able to successfully do. We recently launched in UAE as well, which has been an exciting journey. I think it's a very exciting market, large Indian diaspora as well, and I think a good market for us in the long term. It's been only a couple of months, but the early signs are very, very positive, and we're looking to double down on that market and maybe even GCC broadly, right? And I think the goal is to build Indian brands globally, right? Indian brands should be in India, and obviously India is our focus and always will be. I think India is growing, and we have our deep roots here, but the goal is to take this to become a global brand.
Absolutely. Tell me, for a business like yours, what's working better, online or offline?
Great question, right? I think we've started off online. I think today online is just the ability to start online is a lot easier, right? To put up a website quickly, get and start dispatching orders. I think offline is hard, right? But I think in the long run, we see this has to be a pure play, omni-channel play. Right, we've inspired by brands like Lenskart. I think they've done such a phenomenal job to, acquire online or acquire offline, and then feed the customer, service them beautifully online as well. And we see the same. We see a lot of people walk into our store for the first time and then being serviced through our app, right, sitting at home, right, or vice versa as well. Our stores are very profitable. Consistent EBITDA margins. And we see the ability to give that experience at the store through the sales rep is phenomenal, right? Because we can walk them through the product, the value proposition. Why did we launch EcoFlex? Why did we launch Stethoscope? How do you compare it to other competitors out there, right? So I think stores give us that edge, which sometimes online doesn't. But they both go hand in hand. I think they both support each other, and that's the right way to build the business. We're a very, very data-centric organization where we look at our cohorts pretty closely. So I think for us, and we see a lot of cross-pollination where we acquire customers and they get retained across channels as well. And I think that's the right way to build the business.
Fantastic. The medical sector, the medical apparel sector, like I mentioned earlier as well, it's a very niche space that you're operating in, so has it ever crossed your mind that, okay, we are limiting our audiences, our consumers, we're just perhaps only catering to doctors or nurses, has that ever, crossed your mind that maybe we want to do something else now? Have you ever thought of extending Kanya to maybe other sectors or just, fashion in general, or no, the heart of Kanya remains in medical apparel?
I think that's a question we get very often, but our answer has been consistent throughout, and we've actually never even spoken about this, I think there's so much to do, and we really believe in just being focused. I think there's so many categories, so many products, there's so many better ways that we can give back to the medical communities right now that I think we're a long way from that. And I think focus means everything. Like today, even if you see the biggest sportswear brands, right, Nike as well, they're only targeting, athletes, right? It's all kinds of athletes, but the broad spectrum is athletes.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I want to ask next, since right now we're having this conversation and Kanya is synonymous to medical apparel. But what is your ultimate vision, when somebody looks back at Kanya, say 5 years from now or 10 years from now, what would you like him or her to remember? What would you like him or her to resonate Kanya with, and do you have, because you're already doing content, you're already doing, consultation, you just mentioned, right? So you are branching out here and there, right? But your core remains, of course, your apparels. So tell me, what is your, that one vision that you have for the company in the next 5 to 10 years?
So I think, for us, I think I think what Xerox has done for photocopying or what Colgate has done with toothpaste, right? I think people should never use the word scrubs anymore. They should just be Kanya, right? I think we should become the generic word for scrubs in India. I think then I think we would have achieved what we had to.
Nice.
Right? And I think that's the mission we've set for ourselves. It's not the financial targets, it's not kind of the broader numbers. I think this is a more personal thing that we want to be synonymous with it. And with that comes celebration, comes with a lot of respect, right? And even if 1% more medical professionals get, respected, right? I think for us it'll be success.
If you had to start Kanya all over again in 2026, what would you do differently?
So many things.
But one thing I think I would not change is a lot of the focus that we brought into it. Right? I think we've not kind of run around in different directions trying to add many products, and we've been very financially frugal. The culture has been very intact that way. We've been focused on what our mission is, and we've tried to stick to that. Okay. Right, and I think, and that in some sense a little paid off, right? We spoke about the warehouse fire a little bit earlier, right?
Yeah.
I know brands that have shut down after a situation like that, right? And sizable brands, right? Because they've not built the right systems, they've not kind of diversified their supply chain, and imagine you burn your stock and for 3-4 months you're sitting around, right? People can't, take that. They don't have the appetite for that, right? But I think we were lucky that we had built systems, right? That we were kind of diversified supply risk. We had kind of built a robust supply chain, right? That we were able to live beyond that.
Yeah, absolutely. And just take us through, how has the post-pandemic era been for your business? Because starting a business during the pandemic is one thing, but actually sustaining it, all over till 2026, it's quite a thing. How's that been like?
It's been very interesting, and Vanshika, please feel add, right? I think we saw post the pandemic, a lot of things change in the customer's mind, right? One thing we found that hygiene was just a huge, preference, right? We found a lot of clinics, a lot of hospitals who are kind of enforcing scrub purchase, scrub wear, right? It not just makes doctors and nurses feel presentable, but the whole narrative of not taking back germs back home. Second is, I think, this sense of premiumization that's come in post-COVID as well, right? People want to be perceived as doing a lot more than what they have, right? Today, young Gen Z wants to signal to his or her friends that, I'm wearing Kanya, I'm wearing these beautiful shoes, or I'm wearing these beautiful, spectacles, or I'm wearing a beautiful pair of scrubs, because they are probably, their housing may not be as good, so they are kind of leveraging their discretionary capital in other ways, right? So we're seeing very interesting, I think, consumer trends evolve in the generation that's coming up as well, right? And let's not forget, right? 75% of medical professionals are younger than the age of 40. They're very young, they're ripe for digital acquisition, they're ripe for kind of signaling to their friends and colleagues that, we want to be perceived differently. We want to be perceived with a cause. Right, I think so. We are seeing a very interesting consumer trends evolve over the last few years, and I think we are trying to kind of capture and jump on that bandwagon as well.
Very interesting. You are also life partners. Tell me, how is it like working with a spouse? Who takes the calls, and what do you do when you have disagreements?
I think I would highly recommend it.
Really?
I would highly recommend it. I think it takes some time to find a balance. But I think once the balance is found, it's so beautiful to be on this journey with your partner. I think the main reason also is that the incentives are just so aligned, right? I have twins who are turning 3. I had a very, very tough pregnancy, because twin pregnancies are usually very tough. I was in the hospital for 3 months. I had a very difficult time, but I don't think anybody else would have understood that part of my life better than my husband, right? So I think fights are lesser when it comes to work. There are no fights related to money. There's no fights related to FaceTime in office. So I think it's just incentives are so aligned, because everything's coming back home and you're building this something so beautiful together. We always say that Kanya is our first baby, and then Dev and Tara are second and third. So I think it's beautiful, highly recommended for everybody out there who's sort of thinking about it.
Abhijeet, you agree?
100%. Right? I think it's been a beautiful journey, and I think I've always said this, right? Vanshika is the soul of the company, right? She's the one who started Kanya, right? She was kind enough to invite me to get a seat on the table, right? And it's been a real fun journey, a fulfilling one. I think we got lucky that we both have different interests, and kind of we're good at different things, right? So that really worked out for us. I think this, late 20s, early 30s is a challenging time, right? Because you're setting up in financially, you're taking care of your kids, your parents are aging, your grandparents are aging even more, if not dealing with more difficult situations. That's just a lot happening.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And to have somebody with you who understands it and understands all the perspectives of it really helps. And factually, right, the number one reason why businesses fail is co-founder conflict. Right, there's just enough data out there, right? In fact, so I think it's been a great journey, and I think excited for many years to come and to build this with Vanshika, right?
Absolutely, and this has been a fantastic conversation. But before I let you go, tell me, has building Kanya changed you as people, not as founders, but maybe just as a person? It has probably changed something in you. Abhijeet, let's start with you.
Oh, it's great, such a good question, right? It absolutely has, right? It absolutely has. And I was in private equity for the longest time, right? And I'll tell you, I was, I think, made to be an entrepreneur, right? Vanshika always knew this, and we were dating when I was in investing, and she could just see that it wasn't meant for me, right? And one thing I just love about this job is it's so people-oriented. You're dealing with people of all facets of life, right? You're understanding their problems. You really understand that everybody has some problem in their life that they're bringing to work every day.
Right.
So sense of empathy is off the charts. And when you're the custodian of the organization and you're kind of leading it, boss, it's lonely at the top, but you have to take care of everyone out there. Right? And today we have 150, 170 people in the organization, but there are hundreds and 500s and thousands of people who are indirectly linked to us, right? The factories and the vendors, and it's a lot riding to us, right? So I think empathy and ownership is critical. One thing particularly which I found, which I find particularly is that I think I see myself a lot more thankful, right? And I'm celebrating a lot of wins, right? Like when I see like, some founders who are celebrating like some milestone, right? Whether it's funding or exit or whatever, I just feel naturally so happy for them, right? Because I know how difficult it is. I know how difficult it is to reach that. And when I kind of see people on social media talk bad about a company and like, oh, this service was bad and this person has done this, and it kind of makes me really sad. And I'm like the first one like taking that screenshot and putting on a founder group, being like, this is ridiculous, right? Because there are like 100 things that happen to make a company what it is. It takes like a village to grow up a child, they say. Boss, this takes a lot more than that. Right, so I think it's made me a lot softer in terms of my emotions, but made me a lot more resilient outside to deal. Imagine dealing with a warehouse failure, like a fire, and like crores worth of inventory. I'm just like, then you can deal with anything in life, right? So yeah, I think it's been a beautiful journey.
Vanshika?
Yeah.
I think everything that Abhijeet said, right? But just to add to that, it really just prepares you for any challenges that come your way. Right, I think, and now especially, particularly for us, after becoming parents, I think a question that I get asked a lot is, how do you manage both? And I think that I wouldn't have it any other way, because Kanya is in some way shaped the person that I am today.
Yeah.
I don't think I was as confident earlier. I don't think that I was so execution heavy, but now it's just prepared me for anything that, life has to offer. So I think it's made us more empathetic, it's made us more problem solving. And yeah, we love interacting with new people every day.
Absolutely. Well, more power to the both of you. This was a lovely conversation. I would definitely like to, catch up in the next 1-2 years and see what you guys are doing. This has been really, really lovely. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Before we wrap up today's episode, here's a quick look at our LOT cheat sheet, a quick rundown of the top takeaways from today's episode. And that's a wrap of today's episode of the Leaders of Tomorrow Vodcast. Stay tuned for more inspiring conversations and keep chasing those big dreams. Until next time, this is Ritwika Gupta signing off.